Good evening.
Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. As you can tell from my backdrop here, this is going to be a Halloween episode and I am so excited about the topic that I'm talking about today because I've been wanting to share this video for about a month now, but I thought it was the perfect type of video to share on Halloween. So for those who don't know me, my name is Tara East. I'm a writer, blogger, and YouTuber. This here is my channel, and I'm the writer of the mystery novel, Every Time He Dies. And in this week's video, I want to talk about, are you writing the types of books that you want to write? So we've all answered the age-old career advice question, if money wasn't an option, what would you do with your time? Now, if you're watching this video, then chances are your answer to that question has something to do with writing. Now, opting away from the presumably safe or conventional option of having a 9-to-5 job takes a lot of courage. Announcing that you're going to be a writer isn't easy, and there is a reasonable chance that you will be met with a lot of resistance and fear from yourself and from others. This first step is massive, but it's only one of many steps that you will have to make throughout your creative career. It takes a lot of time and experience to develop your skills as a writer. We all have to build our knowledge of creative basics. It's one thing to recall from high school English definitions of plot, setting, theme, symbolism, character, metaphor, and so on. And it's another thing to deepen your understanding of those literary devices and then apply them to your own work. You will never have as much confidence in yourself as a writer as you do the moment before you start working on your first creative project. Developing your voice as a writer takes time, and the bill you have to pay is writing a bunch of short stories and manuscripts that no one will ever see. This is how you develop your understanding of how stories work and what you personally want to achieve with your writing.
Just realized that I forgot to put on my rings.
So we improve our writing abilities by trying out different techniques, completing writing exercises, reading widely and deeply through the lens of a writer rather than a reader, and learning how to critically evaluate our own work. The thing is, with so much focus put on the quality of the writing itself, sometimes we can lose sight of what it is we actually want to be writing. Sometimes we can lose sight of what it is we actually want to be writing. What I mean is, are you writing the stories you want to write? Have you become so concerned with up-leveling your skills or writing books that will sell, or telling the types of stories that you think your writing group might like? Or most alarmingly, are you writing towards the types of stories that are generally considered respectable, serious, or intelligent? You know, grown-up literature. I mean, bad enough that you want to be a writer, but you better not be the kind of writer that tells alien, cowboy, vampire, romance, detective stories. The only way you're going to save face by announcing yourself as a writer is if you are a writer of serious, realistic fiction. Want to be taken seriously? Then your writing had better be subtle and sophisticated, as though those qualities couldn't also exist in genre fiction. Notice that this sort of thinking can happen without us knowing it, particularly if we are process-driven and we love the challenge of seeing whether or not we can pull something off. Sometimes we tackle an idea simply because it's challenging and not necessarily because we find the topic personally engaging or thrilling. Sometimes we can drift into a project simply as a way to stay busy and to keep working. But it is always worth reflecting. It is always worth reflecting on the bigger stance. Are you writing the types of books you want to write? As with most of my videos, though certainly not all of them, I come on here to share the types of questions and thoughts and reflections I myself am having as a writer, creator, and teacher. And this is a question I have been asking myself over the course of the last month or so. Now, I've been thinking about this inner turmoil as my creative existential crisis. And the thing is, it's kind of just as crappy as a regular existential crisis. So what spurred on this question to begin with? Well, it all happened when I read a novel that hit all of the old tropes and aesthetics that I adored growing up. The qualities and features that formed the foundation of my storytelling knowledge. So to give you a bit of context, I grew up watching Friday Night Fright Night, Alfred Hitchcock, The Wraith, Rat Forever, Tales from the Crypt, Unsolved Mysteries. Do you remember that show? Buffy and Are You Afraid of the Dark? To be honest, I still think about that episode with the ghost in the pool. And like most Australians my age, I grew up reading Goosebumps, Paul Jennings, and Animorphs, among others. The first book that I read when I was a kid that I loved, and I've tried to find this book again online and I can't, but I'm pretty sure it was called Ghost Music, and it was about a teenage girl learning to play the piano, and then she becomes possessed by a former student who excelled at this instrument. So little wonder that my own debut novel featured a ghost. So over the course of this last month, maybe because it's Halloween, I've been going back and revisiting all of the old TV shows, movies, and books that I loved and that I grew up reading. And to be honest, what I felt actually came as a bit of a relief, because going back and looking at all of these forms of storytelling, I realized that I have actually outgrown that content to an extent. But I couldn't ignore the fact that I had read this book that spurred on the question, am I writing the types of books that I want to write? So I sat down and I really analyzed the book, and I tried to figure out what it was about the book that I loved so much. And what I realized was that it took all of these tropes that I love and that I grew up consuming, but it repackaged them for an adult audience. So while I was out having coffee with my mentor one day, I shared all of this information with them, and they directed me to this fantastic article by Kelly Link, and I'll put it in the description box below, but here's the gist of it. In this article, Kelly asks you to grab a piece of paper and very quickly, without much thought, write down all the stuff that you love about other people's books. So this could be things about theme, concepts, setting, characterization. It could be tropes, it could be moods, it can be anything. You can be as specific or as general as you like. Some of the things that Link includes on her list are things like libraries, books inside books, twins, haunted houses, and ghosts. And now my own list includes things like monster hunters, tarot, secrets, found family, communication with non-human beings, plot twists, witty banter, heartbreak, like I secretly love when like a fan favorite dies, it just gives me all the feels, grief, dark academia, and gothic architecture. Now that's just some of the stuff I love. Once you've completed your list, you can then use this as a reference point for your own work, as a way to analyze whether or not you're writing the types of books that you love reading, or you can actually also use this list as a starting off point, as a way to generate ideas for short stories or longer works. Now, the good thing about a creative existential crisis is that it's usually a lot easier to fix than a regular existential crisis. You don't have to get a divorce, move cities, quit your job, buy a pet or an expensive car. All you have to do is choose to make art that is in alignment with your authentic tastes. Okay, granted, if you're making 100,000K every year writing Harlequin romances, or if you won last year's Booker, then chances are pivoting your career won't be that easy or comfortable. for you or your agent. Likewise, if your book is 80% finished when you realize, oh my god, I've written a book that I don't want to read, might I recommend that you finish it anyway? You've already sunk so much time and effort into the project, you may as well see it through and then change direction with the new project. Okay, now that I've gotten all those disclaimers out of the way, let's get back to my original point. If writing isn't your main source of income, then you have the creative freedom to change direction and to write whatever stories you want. The reason why it's important to ask yourself the question, am I writing the stories I want to be writing, is because writing is awesome. And sometimes we become so focused on the act and the quality of our writing that we can drift away from the types of stories that we want to be telling. And sometimes we can unknowingly write towards an invisible critical audience, or towards the expectations of our family, friends, or neighbors? Yeah, I'm pretty sure I don't care what my neighbors think. Developing your skills as a writer and challenging yourself with new and difficult projects is one thing, but it should never come at the cost of your creative integrity. The following advice has become a cliche for a reason, because it's true. Write the story you want to read. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Do you connect with today's topic? Do you sometimes question yourself whether you're writing the types of stories you want to write? Or do you sometimes suffer from the need to write a particular type of story? Please leave a comment below, because I would really like to know where you stand with this. Now, if you'd like even more writing advice, you can of course watch the other videos on this channel, or you can go to taraeast.com and dive into the archives. While you're there, please consider joining my email newsletter, because when you do, I'll send you a free gift, woohoo! And you'll also get a newsletter in your inbox every single Thursday morning, including a note by me, some resources I've recently discovered and think you'll enjoy too, and some other tidbits that I only include via email. Thank you so much for watching today and for celebrating Halloween with me. Now make sure that you keep writing, because the world actually does need more spooky books.